Today's text that we are going to analyze comes from Gardner's Art Through the Ages, 12th edition. This text would be good to use with high school age kids. In art, when we read a piece of text, we always start with the picture. It gives us an idea of who created it and what we're going to be looking at further down in our text. The text also won't make any sense if you don't know what image it's describing. So let's get started. I'm going to ask what you see in this picture. What do we already know? Well, I see water and desert and sky, and I also see a large spiral. In fact, it's the largest thing, and my training as an artist has given me the clue that that is something to be paying attention to, because that's probably our artwork. Where would a person have to be to see this image? We wouldn't be on the land. We would have to be in the water, maybe in a boat, maybe in a helicopter, maybe wading if it's not that deep. It looks big. Why does it look big? When I give a relationship between space and size, the hill in the background gives me an idea what size the spiral is. What other elements of design can we use to draw conclusions about this? Do we see any lines? Do we see a shape? How about value? The difference between light and dark? What about different colors? How about texture? Do you see texture in the water or the rocks? One more thing I need to tell is after a while you'll start noticing these captions. These caption titles tell us everything we need to know about the art. In fact, it tells us the who, the what, the why, the when, the where. This says, Robert Smith created this. It's called a spiral jetty. Well, that makes sense. It's a spiral, and a jetty is something that sticks in the water. It says its building materials are black rock, salt crystals, earth, red water, algae, and it's located at the Great Salt Lake in Utah. And look, I was correct about my inference that it was large. In fact, it says it's 1,500 feet by 15 feet by 3 feet 6 inches. Well, now I'm curious. These aren't traditional materials. Black rocks, earth, and water are easy to find, I guess. But what do salt crystals have anything to do with this? Why is this art? Who is this guy? What made him interested in the Salt Lake in the first place? So, let's start reading. The enduring power of nature. Well, that's interesting. I suppose that would tie into environmental art and site-specific art. I guess that's why this whole thing's titled with a nice little title. Let's see. A leading American environmental artist was Robert Smithson, who used industrial construction equipment to manipulate vast quantities of earth and rock on isolated sites. Wow, that's what makes it art. Not everybody can use heavy equipment, and not everybody with heavy equipment skills would use it to put some earth in the Salt Lake. Why do you think he did that? Let's see. One of Smithson's best-known pieces is Spiral Jetty, a mammoth coil of black basalt, limestone rocks, and earth that extends out in the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Driving by the lake one day, Smithson came across some abandoned mining equipment left there by a company that had tried and failed to extract oil from the site. Smithson saw this as a testament to the enduring power of nature and to humankind's inability to conquer nature. He decided to create an artwork in the lake that ultimately became a monumental spiral curving out from the shoreline and running 1,500 linear feet into the water. Smithson insisted on designing his work in response to the location itself. He wanted to avoid the arrogance of an artist merely imposing an unrelated concept on the site. The spiral idea grew from Smithson's first impression of the location. As I looked out on the site, it reverberated out on the horizon, only to suggest an immobile cyclone, while flickering light made the entire landscape appear to quake. A dormant earthquake sped out on the fluttering stillness into a spinning sensation without movement. The site was a rotary that enclosed itself in an immense roundness. From that gyrating space emerged the possibility of the spiral jetty. Was that really important? I don't think so either. The appropriateness of the spiral forms was reinforced when, while researching the Great Salt Lake, Smithson discovered that the molecular structure of the salt crystals that coat the rocks at the water's edge is spiral in form. Smithson not only recorded spiral jetties in photographs, but also filmed its construction in a movie that describes the forms and the life of the whole site. The photographs and film have been increasingly important because fluctuations in the Great Salt Lake's water often place spiral jetty underwater. So, that answered some of my questions. I realize that Robert Smithson was really taken by the Salt Lake, and he did a lot of research before he just started moving rock. And that's probably why it's considered an artwork. It also has great documentation, which is another reason that gives art meaning to a lot of people. And it also creates the idea that images are very important, because sometimes our artwork won't always be here forever. So thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed How to Read Art.